for one of your favorite segments on Fridays. It's MPTF Influencers with Courteney Bailey. Today, special guest is Matt Barnes. Hi.
How you guys?
So nice to have you.
Thanks for having me.
I know you were on ESPN this morning, so you're probably really nervous about being on this big show. It's a huge audience, but don't worry, you'll do fine. I'm so excited. I'm gonna give you a little intro, and then we'll get cracking because I think Matt and I can talk for a while. Matt's one of my nearest and dearest friends, and played ball with my husband, and they're very close. And I'm so happy to have him on today. We have a true Renaissance man today, and Matt, for those who know or don't know, he played, grew up in California, a ridiculously talented athlete, like annoyingly so, but landed on basketball at UCLA, where we both were student athletes, along with my husband, and then went on to a 14-year career in the NBA. But that is scratching the surface to what Matt Barnes is about. He's an entrepreneur, he's a philanthropist, he's an advocate, he's a father, he's a producer, he's on-air talent. He's all of the above. So we have lots to ask him about, and hopefully we get to it. But Matt, thank you for being on today with me.
Thank you. That's a hell of an introduction. I guess that's what happens when you're friends. You really knowing me, so you can really give. You just made me sound amazing.
Right? This was like the easiest research to do. I was like, this is cool. We got this.
The people don't know, you're one of the first people I met in college. You're one of the first people I met the first night I was there. You and Stacy, and then with my teammate Ray, Courtney. So Courtney and I go back literally since the first day of school or college.
That was orientation. I was 17. Yes, and that was our foursome of cruising around Westwood to be like, what are we all in for?
And now we're in our 40s. Imagine that.
I'm not yet in my 40s.
When are you there?
November 4th. I am, but I can't wait, actually. I'm supposed to be in Italy right now, Matt. We're supposed to be on I know. We'll all pivot and figure that part out. But let's start with UCLA. I had a little question for you, because I'm going to bring up UCLA and John Wooden, but being a student athlete, I think for the entertainment industry, you've pivoted into this industry. But being a student athlete and playing basketball at UCLA is pretty special, and under the John Wooden empire of what he created. So just tell our residents and our people, what was it like to be a student athlete at UCLA? What did those 4 years mean to you? And do you have any John Wooden lessons that stick with you still?
Outside of having children, UCLA was the best time of my life. I was able to. I played 4 years there. Made friendships and guys will last a lifetime. Tons of opportunity, and just it's kind of your last stop before the real world. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like our little bubble. Mm-hmm. No pun intended, but it was an amazing experience. Something I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Not any necessarily one thing that Wooden did, but just early in my first few years, he was pretty much at every game. So just being able to have him, be there, watch our games. And anytime he's one of the few people I really felt like every time he spoke, even if he wasn't preaching, you were learning something. You know what I mean? He just spoke wisdom. It was just a blessing to be around. But just that whole UCLA experience is something else, and kind of catapulted me into this LA life.
Totally. And the fact that you had such a long career and actually did 4 years, you're part of a small group that actually got to have those 4 years, really experience that kind of kid life still, right?
That's unheard of. It's now, within the next couple of years, I'll have a rule back where you could jump straight to the pros. Now, if you stay 4 years, it's just you can't play. If you're not drafted after your freshman, sophomore, junior year at the latest, rarely do you see seniors go in the draft anymore. But back when we played, we're a little older. It was common for someone to play 4 years and then try to make a career out of it in the NBA.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy to think 4 years, you didn't make it. You got your college degree, so you didn't make it in like the next step, but you did all that. So Matt, we're going to talk about your podcast, which I love, and everyone should listen to. And you've done quite well in front of the camera. Like I said, you were on ESPN today. I saw one headline. It was kind of fun to hear you talk about LeBron's groin. That's always a good subject matter. But I read something recently. Tell us about this, because you ended your career with the championship, but you, of course, have an interesting take on that ring that you got, which I don't think you have. Tell us a little bit about why you're so stubborn about that, and not stubborn. I don't actually mean it stubborn. I think it's really honorable how you describe it.
I'm just different. You know, I was someone that never had anything handed to me. I had to get it out the mud, scratch and claw for every step, and I took pride in that.
You want to earn everything, and you do. I know.
You know, over my career, I took less money to play for better teams, had a chance to win. You know, so I finally get a chance. You know, heading towards the end of my career, what happened was I just thought, you know, I'd signed a 3-year deal to retire as a Sacramento King in my hometown. You know, so it's the first year of the new arena. We're fighting for a playoff spot going into All-Star break, and all of a sudden, you know, the team decides to trade DeMarcus Cousins. You know, I'm later in my career. Obviously, at that point, they're going to start rebuilding. I'm too old to start rebuilding, so I talked to the GM, and we come to a common ground. So I end up leaving Sacramento and getting a chance to go to Golden State right when KD gets hurt. So I, you know, go in there, start playing, you know, doing my part, and you know, a week before the playoffs, first game KD comes back. First game KD comes back, I get hurt, nearly break my ankle. So I'm pretty much done for the rest of the year. So, you know, by the time I'm ready to play or feel well enough to play, you know, we're already in the Western Conference Finals. We're 8-0. It's probably not going to happen, you know. So that was just a time where I'm just like, damn, I finally made it, but I'm not getting a chance to play. Normally I'd be out there guarding Kawhi and LeBron, and that's what I've always done. So fast forward, we end up winning a championship. Like, although I think like all the grind I put in through my career, I earned a ring. I should say I earned a ring, but in that particular moment with that team, I didn't do nothing. You know what I mean? So I was there on the side as support. I had a great seat to watch one of the greatest teams ever to, but I didn't really put no work in. So I just don't really count it. I count it, I guess, but you're never going to hear me saying like I won a championship or wearing a ring, because it's just not.
Yeah, but that's your humility. I think we all agree. Like you earned it. You don't just get there overnight. There's been plenty of people who've been injured in the playoffs who got their ring.
Right.
But I love that about you. I love that you're never gonna be like, that's what I'm holding my hat on.
I gotta earn.
Although it's like, what, you know, 1 in 9 million people get to even experience that in their life, or probably that's a horrible stat, but.
I think the best part about that was, you know, my twins got to, Steve Kerr and the Warriors were very generous, and they allowed my twins to fly on the plane with us, be at practice with us, be in the hotels, be in the parade, be on the stage. Like, you couldn't tell my twins that they weren't on the Warriors. In the back with the champagne, like, and I was able to get them replica rings, so they have the exact same rings as the rest of the guys got. So that was definitely the best part of the experience. Was I got to experience with my kids, and I just kind of felt like that was kind of a great way to end a fun run and see what life basketball was holding, which has been a tremendous blessing.
So you're a boy dad. You've got 3 boys, 3 really awesome little boys, twins and little Ash. We've got I have a lot of questions for you, but this one, not to skew negative, but Matt, you really put to rest a lot of stereotypes that are not great on men, and you blast through those. Like, you know, my brother is a dad who got sole custody of his daughter. You don't really hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You step up, like, I mean, I always think it's silly. You got a lot of tattoos, whatever, right? Like that's a story on your body, and you know, you play really hard. So people think like, oh, Matt's crazy, or Matt's like, no, you've got one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen in my life, and one of the best dads I've ever seen. So, I mean, how has fatherhood changed you? I mean, tell us a little bit. You got boys. How old are your boys? And what's fatherhood meant? Because the way you've stepped up, like you are a role model as a dad to so many. And I don't know, I think people know that more now, but not everyone does.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's my greatest accomplishment. I came from a, you know, drug abuse, violent childhood. You know what I mean? So I just vowed to, if I ever got an opportunity to be a father, I was going to try to be the greatest dad ever. And my boys are my life. They're the reason why I retired early. Like a lot of people don't know, the year I won a championship, I had signed a 3-year contract at the beginning of that year. But the culmination of the season ended up in a championship. Other businesses started going, and I wasn't getting a lot of time with my twins at the time. So that's when I decided to step away and be able to be more active and present in my kids' life. Got custody of them and have just been. It's been a blast ever since. The boys are 11 going on 21 in November. And then Ashton's 19 months. So it's really cool to just be able to be there all the time. Unfortunately, through COVID, although the world is struggling right now, this is the first time since I was 18, since I went to UCLA, that I've got to sit down. You know what I mean? Ever since I went to UCLA, I've been traveling the world to play basketball. And I played 4 years in college, 15 years. And then, once I retired, I'm working for ESPN and I'm working for Showtime. So I'm traveling all the time. So, through this pandemic, I've been able to just sit down and for the first time in nearly 22 years. So, to be able to, you said you saw me on ESPN this morning, I got to work from home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a sports
How great is that?
And I had some shorts on underneath, like, no one knows, you know what I mean? That's just.
I was going to ask you about your quarantine outfits. It's my favorite part of quarantine that like we can do here.
Top up.
No one wants to see bottom down. It's good.
Right. I can shoot all the smoke from my garage, from my movie room. And then, still I have practice today with the twins, you know what I mean? So I'm able to still do my job or, stuff I love to do, but I'm still here. I'm present and a full-time dad. So it's an amazing experience, but definitely to break the stereotype of dads, but particular Black dads, and then athletes and celebrity dads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That the stereotype has always been that we father several children with several women and don't take care of them. And although I do have 2 women, I have 3 children total with. I'm very present in my children's life. I'm a full-time father, and like I said, it's the greatest thing in the world to me.
Yeah, and you talk about being a Black father, and I see you bring those boys to marches and to doing an 8-mile or 8-minute 40-second run. I don't know if you guys did 8 miles, 8.46, or you did the minutes. Either one is awesome. Which one was it?
It was we did the Ahmaud Arbery run.
Oh yeah, Ahmaud Arbery. Yeah.
That was the run we did, but just kind of just be present, because my twins, I'm Italian and Black, and then their mom is Mexican and Black. You know what I mean? So they're biracial, and fortunately they haven't faced race yet as a problem. But I faced a lot of racism growing up. You know what I mean? So I just want my kids very aware of their surroundings and understand what's out there. And some people may not like them just for the color of their skin. So I just, not by giving them too much to stress them out how crazy this world is, but I really like to be real and upfront with them and try to prepare them the best way I can to where they know when they're out there on their own how to handle themselves in situations.
Yep. Yeah. Too many people say colorblind, and it's not about that. It's about color aware and embracing everything, and just it shouldn't matter. You do such a good job with that. Speaking of your podcast, so it's called All the Smoke, and you do that with Stephen Jackson, and who real close with the George Floyd story, by the way, which those degrees of separation, even with me to know you and how close is pretty unbelievable. So, I mean, talk about that podcast, and then I want to talk a little bit about your film stuff, since it's entertainment, but your podcast and that experience with Stephen this year.
The podcast kind of just came about organically. I didn't really know anything about podcasts, to be honest with you. At the time, Jack and I were both working for.
We can't even hear it. You're good.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so Jack and I were working for ESPN and Fox respectively, and kind of new into the media space, and we kept getting a lot of obviously positive feedback. But the people were saying how much they love how real we are and authentic, and we need to do stuff together. So one time we were just hanging out at my house, and I was just like, you know, we need to do something together. He's just like, what? I was just like, well, maybe if it's a podcast. And I didn't really know what it was. That translated into me speaking on the DeMarcus Cousins documentary that Showtime did. And so I got to one of the producers that I wanted to do a podcast. They introduced me to the Showtime team. The Showtime team took us just off a whim. So we owe them a lot of thank you and gratitude for that. And we made something magical.
Yeah.
You know? It's turned into something that like I said, I never really knew what podcasts were. I've only watched 2 of our episodes, and I don't really listen to other podcasts. I just do it because it gives me a platform to speak and humanize our guests and show the world. Like, I've been someone who's been misjudged my whole career, my whole life. So
no question.
My whole goal with the podcast was to just humanize our guests and maybe, you know, show people a side that they'd never seen and change their opinion or view. I mean, because I've always taken pride in changing people, like thinking they I'm a certain way, and then they meet me and they're like, whoa, shit, you're nothing like we thought you were. You know what I mean? So I like, I guess, that kind of opportunity. So that's the reason why I do it, to spread that message. But it turned into something special. We just renegotiated our deal, and you're the first person I've told publicly, but we're about to sign a deal with Showtime and iHeart. iHeart's coming on here, so we'll be launching again in September. With Allen Iverson will be our first episode, so we're getting season 2 back jumping. There's a crazy demand. Everything I post on social media is, when's all the smoke coming back? When's all the smoke coming back? Got the crowd where we want them. We appreciate it. We want to continue to, you know, give the crowd.
And you guys talk about more than sports, you know, and like the sports part is amazing, but it's not just that. And the title is perfect. I mean, like for many reasons, but I'm gonna skew your question because you've had some incredible guests, and I'm gonna ask you who was your favorite guest, but I also want you to talk about Kobe. So you got to interview him, and I know you guys have a relation. You got to play against him. You challenged him. You have a very special relationship that you spoke about. And I know it's tough, but obviously, like our campus in where our elderly residents live is right there where it all happened. And of course, he's someone that the world holds near and dear. So what was it like to have that relationship with him?
It was special. You know, I met Kobe at UCLA. You know, when people don't know, his first couple of years, he didn't get a chance to play. So he was on our campus a lot, walking around, working out. I would go back after our practices and watch him. So I was a fan of him, you know, before anything. Fast forward, you know, getting a chance to start playing against him in the NBA. And then the situation in Orlando where I, you know, ball faked him, and that brought us together. You know, he ended up calling me that. You know, that's 10 years ago now. And he called me that summer, asked me if I wanted to be a Laker. And, you know, I became a Laker, and then that's when we really became.
So he was the one who called you to ask you that?
Yeah, he called me out of the blue. Like, I didn't have his number.
I mean, how do you say no to that? You don't.
No, you can't. You know, I was in Orlando at the time, and I was actually about to go to Miami. I was talking to D. Wade and Pat Riley. That was the same summer that Braun and Chris Bosh came up there. So I was just going to go right up the freeway to Miami, which I was cool with. And then I got a call from a number I don't have saved. And anyone who knows me knows I don't ever answer my phone. But for some reason, I picked up the phone, and it was code. And we kind of shot the shit for a minute. And then he asked me to be a Laker. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then like 3 days later, I was a Laker. So that's how it happened. And then from there, we became really close off the court, hanging out and really getting to know the father, the husband, the businessman, along with the Mamba, the killer that everyone saw on the court. So we really bonded on and off the court. You know, he took my twins in like they were his, always started giving them shoes when they were 3 years old, jerseys, you know, always hugging, always showing a lot of love. So, you know, although most people thought that we hated each other or didn't like each other at the time, like that incident in Orlando pretty much made us brothers. And even up until the time...
Because there was that mutual respect with you two.
Yeah. But even up until the time he died, you know, I mean, I was in constant contact with him. He was coaching Gigi, and obviously I coached the Twins, so every other weekend we'd see each other at AAU basketball. You know, he sent the Twins his newest shoe. His newest shoe arrived to our house for a tournament on Tuesday, and he died on that Sunday. So like within a week of him sending, he always sent the twins their newest shoe, his newest shoe out, and like I said, within a week of him sending his shoes to the twins for their team, you know, it was his unfortunate passing. So it was just don't think, you know, at 41, and on top of that to lose Gigi as well, and then the other passenger within, you just don't think that something like that happens to our heroes. You know what I mean? Although he was my brother, like he was a hero. You know, he was everything, and it's just been a domino effect of bad stuff since Kobe's passed. So, you know, there's not a day I don't pass that I don't think about him and Gigi. I'm actually getting my tattoo finally next week because I finally decided what I wanted to get to honor him and Gigi. So I'm gonna get a Kobe tattoo next week, but it's still hard to believe. It's still tough to swallow. You know, my heart goes out to the family. You know, Vanessa and his sisters and his mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, the respect that you learned from him, and I'm sure you channel his energy all the time. And I personally, you know, people can say what they want about tattoos. The story that what you've told is really beautiful. I know you got Nip and Nipsey hustled for some of our residents who might not know who Nipsey is and his influence and Tupac and everything. But that kind of leads me to, so in front of the camera, we only got a couple of minutes because we have this cute resident who does this great poetry hour. So you got a hard stop because you got some poetry coming later.
I want to mess up the flow of the day.
No, you don't want to mess that up. But what projects you have? I know you've been in some producer, which producer, by the way, is just such a hard role. The in front of camera thing seems to come really naturally, but do you like being a producer, and what do you have going on?
I prefer behind the camera more, to be honest with you. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have my face on TV since I went to UCLA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, people have had enough of seeing me. I want to be more on the creative side, production side. I want to learn how to direct. So I have my hands on a lot of different projects. I just saw my first show yesterday, which I'm excited about. And
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. And then have another 3 very, very solid shows that I'm very confident in coming down the pipe. You know, so I was fortunate enough to sign with ICM about 4 months ago, and it's just been, you know, life after basketball. I couldn't have dreamed that it would have been, you know, this many doors that would have opened, you know, but from playing at UCLA to playing for the Lakers, playing for the Clippers, and then winning a championship with the Warriors, so many doors within that journey had opened up, and I just tried to take advantage of them being here in LA and starting at UCLA. And life after basketball has been a tremendous blessing.
Yeah, you know, Lori Bartlett, by the way, over there, I'm a big fan of. She's amazing at ICM. I only disagree with you slightly in that the doors were opened. I think that the doors appeared and then you opened them. It takes that effort. So, like, you might have seen a door. It right. wasn't open, though. Like, you opened them. A lot of people got opportunities, so you walked right through those. By the way, we got a lot of people on our campus who I'm sure you've got some really great mentors, and we got a lot of people as part of MPTF who I'm sure would love to, like, we're big on that intergenerational and would give you some advice about their directing, and you know, it's really fun to connect with that.
I never wanted to be one of those athletes that thought because I succeeded in my profession that I can jump into another one. So I've been a sponge and a student in this space, you know, being fortunate enough to be able to lean on some of the biggest producers and directors in Hollywood. You know what I mean? So I'm always someone who's willing to learn and listen, and to me, that's the only way you get better. So I would love to take you up on that offer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I also want to add that we have a basketball net here on the campus. So if there are any residents out there that want to challenge Matt, I'm sure.
Jen, hold on. I keep hearing about this, and I know I haven't been on campus for a while because our campus has been really shut down, and really, thankfully, it's been as much as a success story as you can tell. We've had some residents pass from COVID, but they've done a really incredible job. Where is this basketball hoop? I have not seen it.
So
I've heard.
Yes, Matt, to give you kind of context of the campus, on the north side of the campus, we have a hospital and a skilled nursing unit. As you keep moving south, there are individual cottages that are for independent living. And as you continue moving south, there's the John Ford Chapel, which was on John Ford's ranch, and he oversaw it being disassembled, moved over here, and reassembled onto the campus as a donation. And then there's an assisted living facility, the Francis Goldwyn Lodge. Then there's the Saban Center for Health and Wellness, which is the gym and the pool. The Jodie Foster Aquatic Pavilion is there. And just south of that, there's a 3-story residential building that's assisted and independent living all under the same roof. And just south of that, before you get to this open field that we lease out to an organic farmer, the nicer restaurants that you will have gone to, you might have seen Scarborough Farms, like tomatoes from Scarborough Farms. That's Scarborough Farms.
Wow.
But between the farm and the Stark Villa, there's a cul-de-sac with a
clearly
basketball.
active hoop where our residents who average like 85. By the way, Matt, we had a resident 2 weeks ago on July 22nd. She celebrated her 110th birthday.
Wow, it's impressive.
It's amazing. No, this campus is vibrant, and I think you'd learn a lot from them. And they have some wild stories, by the way. They're pretty fun people.
I mean, early time Hollywood. Once everything up, hopefully we get some sort of normalcy. I would love to sit down and just be schooled on what it'd be like. I hope everyone stays safe and enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.